Hello, fourth grade. It's Miss Moore. So, this week's reading lesson is a poem, and I love poems. I don't know if some of you guys remember this or not, but I actually write poetry. I am a poet. So, I love writing poems and I love reading poems. And this poem that we're going to read today is by a famous poet. And when we look at the story, we will look at the author's name. She is a famous poet that has written many, many, many poems. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. All right. Here it is. Let me zoom in a little bit so we can see it better. All right. So the name of this poem is Morning Song of the Bees by Louisa May Alcott. And like I said, Louisa May Alcott is a famous poet. Morning Song of the Bees. So if this title says Morning Song of the Bees, then who, or what do you think this poem is about? Bees. Very good. Let's go look at a picture of some bees. Bees gathering nectar. What is nectar, I wonder? Nectar is when they go onto a flower and they get the juices that are inside of the flower. What do they use that for? To make honey. They use the nectar from the flowers to make the honey. And we love honey. All right. So, the morning song of the bees. Are you ready? Now, I'm going to read this poem like how you should read a poem. This is not a short story or an informational text. This is a poem, so you have to read it with rhythm and with beat. Ready? Awake, awake, for the earliest gleam of golden sunlight shines on the rippling waves that brightly flow beneath the flowering vines. Awake, awake, for the low sweet chant of the wild bird's morning hymn comes floating by on the fragrant air through the forest cool and dim. Then spread each wing and work and sing through the long, bright, sunny hours. Over the pleasant earth we journey forth for a day among the flowers. Awake, awake, for the summer wind has hidden the blossoms unclose. Has bidden the blossoms unclose, has opened the violet's soft blue eyes and awakened the sleeping rose. And lightly they wave on their slender stems, fragrant and fresh and fair, waiting for us as we singing come to gather our honey-dew there. Then spread each wing and work and sing through the long, bright, sunny hours. Over the pleasant earth we journey forth for a day among the flowers. That was a really pretty poem. Now, if I think about the main things that I heard in this poem, I heard about in the first stanza, or the first paragraph, but in a poem it's called a stanza. It's talking about the birds. The birds are flying through the air on the bright sunny day. Through the flowers, we see the wild birds' morning hymn. I wonder what a hymn is. Now I notice it has a number 1 right there. So I'm going to go to the bottom of my poem and look, there's some vocabulary words, okay? So this number 1 should actually be down here, but that's okay. So this number 1 is the hymn. A hymn is a song. All right, so let's put that word in the sentence and see if it makes sense. Of the wild bird's morning song. So what are the wild birds doing? They're singing. Okay. I also see a number 2 right here. Comes floating by on fragrant air. Fragrant air. I wonder what that word means. Well, it has a number 2 there, so that means it's going to be at the bottom. Let's go down to the bottom. Fragrant, having a nice scent or sweet smelling. So if something is fragrant, then that means it smells really good. All right? So I wonder what smells good in this story. Maybe the flowers? I don't think the birds smell good, but maybe the flowers smell good. All right, also in this story, in the second stanza, I see that we're talking about the bees. Here is when we're talking about the bees. And I know that because it says in this yellow part, it says that they are gathering their honeydew there. Well, who gathers honey? Bees. So it has to be about the bees in this paragraph. Another thing I notice, it says it's waiting for us as we singing come. So us and we, those are pronouns that help me know that we're talking about first person. So the person who is talking is saying us and we. I would be included in that. So if us and we are singing come to gather our honeydew, who is speaking in the poem? It has to be the person who's gathering the honeydew. Who's gathering the honeydew? Well, it's not a person, it's a bee. So the bees are the one who are speaking, waiting for us as we singing come to gather our honeydew there. Who is that? It's the bees. Okay. Let's go down to, oh, we had one more vocabulary word, bidden. Let's go find out where that is. I see it right here. Awake, awake, for the summer wind has bidden the blossoms unclose. Well, I know a blossom is a flower, and unclose means not close. So what does bidden mean? Ordered or commanded. Don't you do that. You should not do that. That's a command. Don't do that. No. All right. So it says that the summer wind has commanded the blossoms to not close. Okay. So you know how sometimes a flower, it will open and then it will close. Well, this is saying that the summer has told the blossom not to close. It must stay open. Why? Because the bees are coming and they want to drink the nectar of the flower. All right. Let's look down here in our 4 boxes. So we have character, big moment, which is like the most important thing that happens, the want or the motive, and then the theme. So who are the characters in our poem? Well, we said in the first stanza, it was the birds, the wild birds, and in the second stanza, it was the bees. So in this box, you can type wild birds and bees. The big moment. What was the most important thing that happened in this poem? Well, I think that the most important thing that happened in this poem was when the bees come to gather the honey from the flowers. That the flowers, it says, awakened the sleeping rose. So the flowers have been awakened and the bee is coming to drink the honeydew. Okay? So if we go down here, then we can say the big moment is, and I'll type it, the bees come to drink the honeydew from the flowers. Okay? I'm going to erase this, but that's a good answer that you can write. All right, the want. What is the want of this poem? Now, yes, we could say that the bees want the nectar, but that's just the big moment. Think about the whole poem, because we also talked about birds, and we also talked about bees. So if I go up here, I can see that each poem, each stanza has, over the pleasant earth we journey forth for a day among the flowers. And in the last stanza, it says, over the pleasant earth we journey forth for a day among the flowers. So what do the birds and the bees want to do? They want to have a day among the flowers. So we can say the birds and bees want to have a day among the flowers. I spelled among wrong, no you. Among the flowers. That's a good answer. All right. And then the theme. What do you think the theme is? Now, when we're talking about a fictional story, a theme is usually a lesson that somebody learns. But this is a poem, so we're not talking about a lesson. We're talking about the mood or the feeling of this poem. And if I go back up to my poem, I see a lot of happy feelings because the birds are singing, the birds are singing. We have bright sunny days with flowers. We have fragrant, good smelling air. Okay, so and then here's again is the bright sunny hours in the day that the flowers are fragrant and fresh. Okay, so I think that a good theme for this poem would be a happy day among the flowers. A happy day among the flowers. That would be a good theme for this poem because that's the feeling that I get when I read this poem. I feel happy and I know that everything is singing and smelling good. So that's a good theme for this poem. All right, now we have 4 questions down here to answer. And again, like I always do, I highlight your answers in the text for you, so it'll be easier for you to find the answer. So number 1, according to the text, which statement best supports why the speaker sings? So why the speaker sings? Remember we were talking about who is singing. Well, the birds are singing, but the birds are not the speaker. Remember we talked about who the speaker is? It says, here's my yellow. I'm going to read a little bit above the yellow just to make sure. It says, and awakened the sleeping rose. It's a rose. Do we know what a rose is? Let's go look at what a rose is really quick. Rose. Here's a rose, okay? So this is a picture of a rose. So it awakened the sleeping rose. Here we are. And lightly they wave their slender stems, fragrant and fresh and fair, waiting for us as we singing come to gather our honeydew there. So the rose or the flowers is waiting for the bees as they come singing. So the question says, which statement best support why the speaker sings? So why is the speaker singing? The speaker is excited to be on a journey. The speaker is excited to collect nectar. Remember the nectar, I'm going to say from the flower or from the rose, because it's singing to the rose. Or the speaker is happy to be outside. Well, I'm sure that the bees are happy to be outside, but that's not why they're singing. All right, number 2. What is the meaning of the word slender in line 19? So we are looking for the word slender in line 19, and it's highlighted in pink. So let's see if we can find that. There it is. It says, and lightly they wave their slender stems. Well, we know we're talking about a rose. The rose is waving his stem. What is a stem? Let's go look. Go back over here to rose. Here's a picture of a rose. This is the stem. The stem is the part that holds up the flower. So look at the stem. It's not thick, it's really thin. It's a very thin stem. So let's see. The slender stems. Sorry, my dog wants to move. All right. So if I go look at my answers, slender. Is it going to be tall? Well, maybe tall. Thin. It could be thin because remember they're not thick, they're really thin. Or strong. They're probably not strong because I can tell that it wouldn't, a really thin rose like that would not be strong. All right. Number 3, who is the speaker of the poem? Oh, well, this is easy because we've talked about this a lot. So let's go back. It's highlighted in yellow. It's the same one that we were already talking about. Waiting for us as we singing come. Those are my first person words. So that helps me know that that's who's speaking. To gather our honeydew there. Our honey. So who gathers honey? The bees. All right, and there's your answer. Last question. Which line expresses the main idea of the poem? Well, it's highlighted in blue. And we notice that it's the same thing for both poems, for both stanzas. Over the pleasant earth we journey forth for a day among the flowers. Over the pleasant earth we journey forth for a day among the flowers. That tells me the main idea of the poem, which is over the pleasant earth we journey forth for a day among the flowers. There's my answer. All right, guys, make sure that you fill out all the boxes and highlight your answers and turn it back into me, and I will give you a grade. See you next time.